All right. Now, for the rest of this lesson, we're going to talk about simple exponential growth versus decay. And there's one principle that you have to really understand. All right? Whenever we talk about growth, you're always going to be starting out at 100% and you're going to be adding the amount of growth. Okay? And so let's kind of talk about an example. Let's say that we say, let's say price increases by 28%. How in the world are we going to write that? Well, we would say, okay, if something is going to increase by 28%, we take 100%. That's our starting value of anything, okay? And then we add 28%, and that is equal to 128%. But then we always have to convert this into a decimal. So we know there are decimals right there, and to go from a percent to a decimal, we move 2 spaces to the left, okay? In fact, let me write that. Percent to a decimal, move 2 spaces left. So, 28% increase is 128% of the original value, and we can write this as 1.28. All right? Let's go ahead and tackle another example. For example 2, let's say the value of something inflates by 97%. Guys, this word inflation, you can kind of think of like, oh, if you inflate an inner tube or you inflate a tire, it's growing larger, it's increasing, and so we know that this is exponential growth. So remember, our starting point is always 100%, and then we add our growth rate, so plus 97%, and so we'd say, you know what, this new thing has inflated to a value of 197%. And remember, we change that to a decimal. Take our decimal, go 2 units to the left, and we're looking for 1.97. Now, by the way, what are some synonyms for this word inflate? So I want you to think of, let's just go ahead and write out kind of a little table here for growth. Like, what are all the words we could use for growth? Inflates. We could say something increases. We could say that it grows. All right, we could say that something gets larger. Hey, what if something gets pricier, okay, or more expensive? So anything that indicates something getting larger, we know that we're going to add that growth. Let's go ahead and try one more of these. Here's another simple example. An athlete improves their accuracy by 4%. Okay, so we're starting out at 100% plus 4%. This is equivalent to 104%. And of course, we take our decimal and we move it 2 units to the left and say, you know what, as a decimal, they are 1.04. However you would quantify it, better at what they've been doing. All right, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at exponential decay. For exponential decay, we're always going to take 100% and we are going to subtract what we could call the rate of decay. For example 1, we have the price decreases by 83%. Wait a second. This word decrease, well, this is a synonym for decay or to get smaller. And so we'll start out with 100% minus 83%, and this leaves us with 17%. Now, what does this look like as a decimal? Well, I put my little decimal there, and I go to the left 1, 2, and we could write this as 0.17. All right, let's go ahead and look at one final example. Here we have example 2. The value of something shrinks by 7. And we say, you know what, the word shrink means to get smaller or to decrease. And so we're going to say, all right, our starting value is always 100% minus 7. And this is equal to 93%. And when I go to write this as a decimal, well, I go to the left 1, 2, and 0.93 is kind of my relationship to the original value. All right, guys. What are some synonyms for this word decay? So we know that decay means to get smaller. So if anything gets smaller, or decreases, or deflates. And we obviously have the word shrinks. Any of those are going to mean that we're going to subtract the rate of decay. All right, I hope this helps, and I'll see y'all in our next lesson.